Alexander Usyk beats Tyson Fury. What really happened in that fight? What really happened to Fury? What's going on in the battlefield? And we're talking about Kharkiv. It was Zelensky's last day as the legitimate president, and how that's all connected. Let's get into it. It's food for thought, man. Let's roll. What up, everyone? So a couple days ago, before the Fury and Usyk fight, I made a video. It was about how Alexander Usyk is in fact a traitor of Ukraine more than a hero of Ukraine. And before I get into the rest of the video, there was a comment left under the video, and for some reason I can't find that comment anymore. And it was a long comment about how someone was, you know, someone American or Western or whatever, what have you, was defending Usyk and defending the people of Ukraine, saying that Ukrainians are fighting for their lives. They're not fighting for a government. And how Usyk is really a hero, and about all these crazy propagandas that in Crimea people live such terrible lives ever since being annexed, and there's like these concentration camps in Russia for Ukrainians and everything like that. And this is not funny, by the way. And I think I replied to that comment, but I was sitting there and thinking, like, wow, when I make these videos, a lot of people really get the wrong idea. For some reason, you guys think out there that like this brings me joy of some sort. I have to stress this again. I myself was born and raised in Western Ukraine. This is not a happy time for me to be speaking about Usyk in that matter. This is not like, but to me, it's me talking about my brother. These are my people. These are my brothers and sisters. It affects me on a extremely deep level. It cuts me with a knife, but the reason it cuts my heart with a knife. But the reason that I do this is because the situation is getting more and more dire. The situation is getting more and more drastic. And me being able to bring this message to the Western world, I think it's important. Because you as a Westerner, you as an American, you can kind of, instead of judging what I'm saying, you can do the research yourself, do the real research. Or if you can't, you can sit back and think, well, hold on, this guy is from Western Ukraine. And that's where the nationalist idea of Ukraine was born. This is where it comes from. Just to give you an idea, I have relatives, great uncles that were collaborators with the Nazis. This was instilled in us ever since we were kids, to hate Russians and so on and so forth. Like, I am from there. But just imagine someone like that. When I was a kid, I was almost far right and nationalist, especially coming to the US at the age 11. You become way more patriotic when you move to a new nation. I was super patriotic. I mean, I wasn't patriotic, sorry, I was a nationalist. And there's an idea, to me at least, a nationalist will fight for the flag, the anthem, and the name, but the patriot will always fight for the people. So imagine when I came into the information, because I studied in the Vatican. So when I came into the information of what has been hidden from us, I had to fight with myself with the information that I already had. I had to convince myself and argue internally that this is true, no, this is not true, losing sleep at night. And so this is not easy for me. When you think about it, the things that are going on, this is why I always say, I'm so mad at a lot of Western media, even the independent coverage, because to us, it's like, imagine you had a fight inside your home with your family members, and then the next day you go outside and everyone heard the fight, but they don't really know what happened. Well, to us as Ukrainians, as Russians, it's the same thing. This is the fight inside of our house, inside of our home. To us, it's deeper than personal, and then we go outside and we hear all these different stories and theories and everything like that. And again, the reason why I'm bringing you this information, and on top of that, just imagine, I'm from Western Ukraine and was also a boxer from a young age, from the age of 4 to the age of 18, competing and dreaming of representing Ukraine at Olympia and this and that, like at the world stages and this and that, So I was also always growing up with the idea of like, wow, to have a, heavyweight Ukrainian world champion, this would be a dream come true. Just imagine, man. And I could do what everyone else is doing. I could follow the herd and praise Usyk and everything like that. But what I've seen Usyk do, and the information that I know, is I can confidently say he's a traitor, and because of his actions, there are people, young men, that are dying. So I can't stress this enough to whoever wrote this comment. Maybe you're gonna see this video later or whatever. This is not fun for me, man. To the rest of y'all, this whole situation, it hurts. This is my homeland. This is where I was raised. This is where I first learned to ride a bike, where I first kissed a girl, where I first got spanked, like so on and so forth, man. This is my home. I have a genetic connection to it, man. I feel, the things that are going on there. So with me saying that, let's get back to the fight. So I'm watching the fight live, and after the knockdown, it wasn't really a knockdown, it was almost a knockdown of Fury in round 9. In my head, I'm telling myself, universe, if I am on the right path, and if I'm correct about Usyk, let Fury win. So then when the fight is over, Usyk wins. So a battle begins in my head. And I know, previously these things happen in my life where you kind of toy with the universe. You toy with your destiny. And sometimes the destiny throws you this curveball and tells you, look, are you going to believe in it? Or will you continue on your path? And I know that this was another one of these moments, because again, what I've said about Usyk being a traitor is not something that I just woke up to. And imagine, I'm putting myself on the front. I'm going against the current, man. I could go with the current. I'm going against the current, man. This is not beneficial to me whatsoever, man. So what really happened in a fight? I've never got a fight result wrong, and you can check my track record. I even predicted that Lomachenko would be robbed in a Lopez fight 2 weeks before the Lopez fight. The evidence is there, the receipts are there, you can check on the channel. So usually I never, get the fight results wrong. Well, I got this one wrong. And in my previous video, I said that the only person that could beat Fury is Tyson Fury, and that's exactly what happened in this fight. First of all, Fury, if you really score the fight, man, Fury won from round 1 to round 7 and 8, I think. But the reason I could see in a world title match for the undisputed champion, why they would give the fight to Usyk is because Usyk won all the championship rounds and he almost had a knockdown. It was counted as a knockdown. So I could see how they gave the fight to Usyk, and that's fine. But what happened to Fury in this fight is the same thing that it always happens to Fury. And if you think it's something out of this world, well, then look back at the Ngannou fight. Ngannou was a UFC fighter, man, and yet he gave Fury trouble. Is because Fury did the same thing, and he always does. He did not take Usyk serious, man. Now, Usyk won fair and square. That's fine. But you can see Tyson Fury was playing around, man. He was having fun because he really enjoys, you can tell he really enjoys the game. He enjoys the sport, man. He's doing this for enjoyment. So he didn't take Usyk serious. Now that's Fury's fault. So that's as far as the fight goes. Going back to, oh, and by the way, if a rematch does in fact happen, which is questionable because we don't know if Fury wants to take the rematch unless he wants to, protect his legacy, so to speak. But going back to why Usyk is a traitor, and again, I'm talking about my brother here, man. This is not easy for me. It's painful. I would really wish for him to wake up and speak the truth. And I even watched him in his in the Rain interview right after the fight, and Russian words are jumping out of his head because he's been hit in the head. He was in this tough fight, so now he doesn't sit and think about what he's gonna say, and Russian words are jumping out of his head because that's his native tongue. He's a Russian man from Crimea. His father, Krim, from his father, his mother, his grand. He's a Russian dude. All of a sudden, became Ukrainian, and that's fine. That's cool. But the problem that I have is that he could have done what Lomachenko did and not make himself a political figure. And if you notice, besides this whole him, speaking his native tongue, which is Russian, if you notice, when he started his heavyweight journey and the whole conflict in Ukraine happened, he was wearing the Cossack outfits. Now, the Cossack culture goes back in Slavic, cultures for thousands of years. This is not a Ukrainian Zaporizhzhia siege. This is all propaganda. This is all, it's false, man. And there were Don Cossacks, and there were Kuban Cossacks. There were different kinds of Cossacks. But basically, in the Ukrainian sense, the Cossack is like a man that went against the Polish-Lithuanian Pan, which is a nobleman. He went against the nobleman to free his people. So he was wearing the Cossack outfits. He was, representing. What did Usyk wear before the Tyson Fury fight? All of a sudden, he doesn't have the hair strip that he did, which, symbolized the Cossack. All of a sudden, he grows out his hair, and pay attention to his outfit in the way, and now he's wearing what actually the Polish-Lithuanian Pan, the nobleman that would enslave the so-called Ukrainians, which were really Western Russians at the time, people, because there was no such thing as Ukrainian in the 16th and the 17th century. So now he did what Bogdan Khmelnytsky, which was one of the real famous Ottomans, leaders of the Zaporizhzhia siege, did. He always wanted to be a Polish-Lithuanian nobleman. But then when he realized, I'm talking about Bogdan Khmelnytsky, that the Polish were treating us terribly, what did they do? They ran back to the Russian Tsar. They ran back home like, look, come, help us, free us, this and whatever. So you can see that Usyk is even going through sort of this symbolic transformation. Now he wants to be accepted into these higher echelons of power, because to me he became a Zelensky puppet, and Zelensky is a puppet of the higher elites that started this whole conflict, that always start these conflicts. And I just want to say this, because we always tend to say, oh, Russians, oh, Ukrainians, oh, Americans, it's America's fault. This is transnational, man. And I had a conversation with Jim Dillinger. Shout out to Jim Dillinger and his friend, a chief, and which I'm gonna keep posting pieces of that conversation. And they're telling me, like, look, the Windsor family hijacked the power in what's now known Great Britain. So I'm sitting there and reminding myself that it's us, the people, against these higher ups, man. It's they have us all stuck in this nationality and flag and this and that. America's crumbling, Ukraine's crumbling, Israel's crumbling. Like, these people don't care about us. And Usyk became a puppet for these people. And every action that he did, with the first action, I explained it in my previous video with Usyk being a traitor, is, and I'm gonna say it again, is he sort of faked like he's going to join the Ukrainian armed forces. And they're still talking about it because, of course, they're not gonna let this guy go on a battlefield and fight. And if you go back to his Instagram, every picture that he had in his soldier uniform, it's all nice, clean and neat and everything. When have you ever seen a soldier in the trenches with a clean uniform, man? Of course he's not out there fighting, but he's given an idea to these young men, like, go and fight and die for what? That's the whole thing, because the government in Ukraine is illegitimate. They're not legit by any means. They've been robbing, and we're gonna come to the whole Kharkiv thing. They've been robbing and stealing from the people so bad that now, and we're coming to the situation in Kharkiv on the battlefield, that now when the Russian armed forces are getting, taking over village by village by village, and this is happening super rapid, and whoever's telling you something else, don't listen to it. They're getting close to Kharkiv, man. They're getting so close to Kharkiv that Kharkiv is getting hit. But the reason why is because they were supposedly getting all these billions from the US to build trenches. And there are no trenches in that area. And this is why the Russian armed forces are taking, square mile by square mile, man. And the Ukrainian VSU are, the armed forces are retreating, man. But the crazy thing is that some of the funds, obviously, Zelensky and all of these people, and Yermak, and there's all these people. I don't want to get into it. They're building houses in Monaco and the French Riviera and everything like that. And it's not funny, but some of the funds they used to strengthen the western Ukrainian border. Just think about this, man. Not the eastern Ukrainian border, the borders with Russia. They're strengthening the western border. They're getting drones and cameras and, all of these different things because they don't want people escaping. Imagine they did the same thing as they did in Gaza, man. This is something ritualistically these people do, man, to trap the people inside, to throw more and more people into the meat grinder. There was a terrible incident that happened in Kharkiv a couple days ago. A rocket hit in a park, and 11 people died and 40 people were injured. Now, the crazy thing about this whole thing is because I'm talking to people in Ukraine and in Kiev and things like that, is they're saying that in Kiev, the Ukrainian government sometimes is shooting off these rockets themselves because they want the population to panic and they want the men to come out of hiding, because what's going on now is that the streets in major cities are literally empty because men are hiding in basements and stuff like that. So the Ukrainian government, at times when it's quiet, they will do an attack themselves in order to get the men out, to get the men angered. So one of these attacks happened in Kharkiv, and to me personally, I don't know where it came from. But again, it's terrible. These are my people affected. This is me affected by this. And another crazy thing is that there are people from Odessa that are going to Kharkiv right now to wait for the Russian forces when they come, because they're thinking that the Russian forces will overtake Kharkiv and in turn they will be liberated, because there's no other way for them to escape this. There's no way for them to get into Europe anymore. There's no way to get to the southern border, like it's dead. So now their only hope is for the Russian forces to arrive, and this is happening on a mass scale where people are actually coming from the southern cities and regions to Kharkiv in order to be liberated. And to answer, to wrap this up and to answer some of the things that comment said, because that comment really got me, is the comment said that, oh well, look, well, Russia is way more corrupt than Ukraine is. In the last 30 years since Ukraine became independent from the Soviet Union, there has been nothing built at all. There are no new airports, there are no new train rails, there are no new roads. The roads have been fixed by Turkish companies, not by Ukrainian companies. There's no industry that's being built. All the industry that's in Ukraine right now is owned by foreign companies. Now take Russia on the other hand. When Russia took over Crimea in 2014, what did they do? They built fresh new roads. They built a fresh new airport from scratch. The city of Mariupol, you remember from when the conflict started, was completely demolished. They have new neighborhoods now and state-of-the-art schools and everything like that. So the point that I'm trying to make is the Slavs are a majority ethnic group in Russia, which are ethnic Russians, because there are over 190 nationalities, but these are small nationalities, small groups of communities. But the Slavs, the Russians, they make up the largest percentage of the population. And us as Slavs, if we don't like something, we're gonna flip out, man. So if people in Russia didn't see actual changes that are happening to them in the last 30 years, people think like, oh, Putin got everybody. Man, we're such people that would know Putin, nobody would hold us back. But people in Russia see changes. Their life is getting better. The pensions are higher. The wages are higher. People are able to go on vacation and put some money away, and roads are being built, and the streets are clean. And Tucker Carlson talked about it. He was shocked when he came to Moscow. Well, and a lot of people say, oh, look, it's Moscow and everything like that. I'm gonna put a little video right here of the capital of Chechnya, Grozny. And as you know, Chechens fought against it was the terrorist Chechen group that fought against the Russian government. It was a terrible war, and Grozny was destroyed and everything like that. And that's another point I have to make, is that the Chechens are also, they're hot-blooded people. If they weren't happy where they are now, it would be another Chechen war. It would be a Chechen war, the third war, man. So that, that should make you think that governments are corrupt everywhere, but something is happening in Russia where people are living better lives, and even these smaller nationalities that make up the population are able to, like the Chechens, are able to have their own territory. And it's not like the reservations here with the Native Americans in the US, man. These people are able to have their territory, they're able to keep their language, they're able to teach their language. And in Chechnya, since they're Muslim, alcohol is illegal. Like, they're able to have their own laws implemented so they don't go against their own cultural code, man. And this is very important. The Russian government is not trying to assimilate them with the rest of the country, man. And this is very important. Again, I am from Western Ukraine telling you this, man. You have to really, really think about this, man. That I'm not, I was brainwashed by the Ukrainian nationalist propaganda when I was a kid. And again, when I came into more and more information, I had to convince myself, and the only way to save my people now is to share this with you, so you wake up and you realize that whatever you heard about this conflict is true. It's not true, man. And the only way for Ukraine to save itself is to, in fact, join Russia in the conflict, man. And Russia, I'm talking about the population. I'm not talking, again, I always, please remember that I'm making a separation, man. When I talk about Ukraine, I'm talking about the Ukrainian government. I'm not talking about the people, because us as a people, again, all over the world, we have a common enemy. We have one enemy, man. So don't make this a national thing. So, to wrap this up, it's terrible what's going on in the battlefield, and I'll just add this: the rhetoric in Ukraine is changing. People are waking up. My last point is that when Zelensky came into power, he promised that he will only stay for one term. And I remember back then I was saying to myself, like, look, we're gonna get a forever president, just like Belarus and Russia has. And it seems like that's what's going on, because Zelensky's legal power ended on May 20th, which was yesterday. So he's no longer a legitimate president. Ukraine was supposed to have a new president, man. So it looks like they put this puppet into power. And even if you break up, shout out to Jim Dillinger, he loves to break up to kind of decipher last names. If you decipher Zelensky's last name, it's green, so, and we always used to say that Poroshenko, which was the previous Ukrainian president, it means poroch is like dust, but it's like the dust that you make like a bullet with. So he's dust. War started with him, and then Zelensky, which means green, is that Zelensky sold the country to the green dollar, man. So shout out to all of you. Shout out to my beautiful wife, Romaniya Poet. The book is I always link it below. Go check out Jim Dillinger. I always link him in the description. Shout out to all of you that leave a comment, to all my NazareNs out there. I truly do appreciate you. I truly do love you. There's a lot of content coming up. Now, I had a boxing show before. It was called Fighting for Change, and I'm gonna put it back in production, but it's probably gonna be on a different channel, because I don't want to mix it up with this channel, and that's what I used to do, man. So yeah, man, let me know what you guys think, man. I love all of you, and catch me on the rebound, man. I can't wait to read some of your comments, man. Uno.